Hey y'all, it's Rick here with Uncommon Communion, making a recording mid-morning, or really kind of late morning, I guess now, on Friday. I hope that your week has been a good one. Mine has been tiring. Huh. I led 3 days of training, drove 3 hours or 3 hours round trip twice this week. It's been a lot. So last night, when it came time to write or record, I just didn't have it in the tank. And honestly, I didn't really know what I was going to say. Well, this morning, though, I have something I'd like to share. So I'm glad that you are with me. Let's begin as we always begin by saying and praying, we are always and everywhere in the holy presence of God and each other. I want to start today a little bit differently. A lot of times I end with the Serenity Prayer. And that prayer means a lot to me as a person in recovery. You may know this as well, that prayer is prayed at pretty much every 12-step meeting, probably around the world in different languages, whenever the group closes or the group begins. It's such a central part of how do we stay sane in this world, in this crazy world. So to refresh the prayer, God grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Thy will, O God, not ours, be done. Now, I begin with that because today's reflection is going to get at both of the parts of the Serenity Prayer. Well, let's get at that first part first, the things I cannot change. And I'm going to put sort of before I talk about what that is for me and us and we, I think, at this particular moment. So we know what happened this week with the Epstein files and T. Rump being really forced to sign them, and the incredible fear that he has about what is in those. And again, it seems unrational. It seems over the top. I mean, many people I listen to are like, wow, it must be really something if he is just going to these lengths and really unspooling. And I think that's the thing we need to be aware of, right? You might have seen yesterday morning that a group of Congress people, senators and representatives, Democrats, who had all served in the military or the intelligence community, speaking directly in a really powerful, well done video to service members saying that they must not follow orders that are counter to the Constitution, right? And it was clear that, probably they're hearing things in their communities and in their channels that they're part of, that there's going to be orders coming down. I mean, there already have been deploying military to the cities, what we are doing with destroying without any public evidence of anything, the boats in the Caribbean, right? I mean, we've killed, really, I would say murdered 70 plus people at this point. So the Congress people were speaking very directly to the military in a real situation. And you might have seen this. What does T. Rump do? He says that they are treasonous and should be hanged, and then retweeted some things or retruthed or whatever, right? Y'all, he's losing his lunch. I mean, his lunch was already lost. Now he's losing his dinner, right? And that's really dangerous. That is very, very dangerous for us as a country and for the world in general. Because there's talk, he was asked about intervening in Mexico to go after drugs, right? Drug runners. And he enthusiastically said, yeah, he'd do that. We know that Venezuela is in his targets. I mean, and that's just what we know about, right? So it is very, very precarious. And that's one of those things that we alone can't change. There is a mechanism, I'm sure you know, because it's being talked about, the 25th Amendment, right? Where a president can be removed essentially by the vice president and I don't know if it's a majority or if it's, 2/3, but it has to do with the cabinet. But here's the thing, y'all, they're not going to do that most likely. I mean, these are lackeys. These are clowns. Excuse me. I can't call them clowns because there are legitimate clowns out there. They're buffoons. They are incompetent and unacceptable buffoons, and they're not going to do this. And then the reality also is that who is benefiting from T-Rump losing his lunch? The two most powerful people in the White House, Stephen Miller and Russ Vought, who are getting what they want done, right? So we can't count on them. I do think, y'all, that it is going to come to a head. The best case scenario is that T-Rump has some kind of a serious health issue that cannot be covered up, or a public type of, passing out or something like that. That would be good to get him out of office, because he needs to be out of office, y'all. This is the craziest thing about this. I mean, when you think about it, and there was talk about this, when he was running for this term, that he was running to stay out of jail, because there was not one, not two, not three, but four criminal cases that probably all could have won that were on him. And he was running from that, right? And got to be president and got to close all of those, right? This Epstein thing, he can't run from. The truth is going to come out, and whatever it is going to be devastating to him and many, many more. And that's what he's trying to run from. So what can we do? Is it truly the things I cannot change? Well, in some cases, yes. In other cases, we have the power of the people. I know there are boycotts this weekend, the next weekend, the no shopping over Black Friday. And I hope and plan to do that myself, right? There may still need to be mass disruption, strikes, or mass civil disobedience, things like that, right? I know there's people in Washington right now. There's a group of people that have organized and are in Washington talking to the leaders to talk about removal and impeachment. And those things are in the works. But this is a man who is unraveling before us. This is a man who has no checks that we can really see. This is a man who has his finger on the nuclear button and the world's most powerful military at his beck and call. So I don't mean this to be a downer. It is just something that needs to be said. I want to get to that second part, though, and close with this, because this ultimately is the most important part. Because there are things that will pass. T-Rump will pass, and something else will come after. And hopefully it will be better. I'm already hearing people talking about a reconstruction and a rebuilding of so much that has really gone wrong in our democracy over the last decades. So, that is the hope for the future. And T-Rump will pass, something else will arise. What doesn't pass and what doesn't change are the things that we as planetary pilgrims lean into and know that we can put our feet and our hearts and our souls on, right? Because they are solid, because they are eternal. The love of God through creation and in the world, there is an eternal nature to this. The physical world passes away. And if you are a follower on the way of Christ, we know that there is transformation and there is resurrection. If you are a follower on other paths, perhaps you have that same sense, albeit in different terms or in a different way of understanding it. I want to close with this prayer, which again, this is in the wonderful book that I use every day, the Centering Prayers book. I'll try to put a link to it here, because if you've not received, taken a look at this, I highly recommend it. Every day's prayer is different. It just gives me something to nourish my soul and to just ground myself, to center myself, like the title says, right? So this is what the author wrote yesterday, November 19th. He says, November 20th was yesterday. He says, God of color, warmth, and light, the northern nights are nearing, turning forest and field into scenes of passion. The colored palettes of oaks and maples have sung their autumnal lullaby to summer, in tune with earthen hues of prairie grass. It is time to gather into silence for a future season of growth. I remember these ancient rhythms of sun and earth tilting in tandem. I turn my heart toward your eternal home and warmth, ready for the dark night, infused with your light. Whew, there is so much in there that I like. Just calling God, God of color, warmth, and light. I mean, if that was our mantra today, to just recognize that in color and in warmth and in light, which all intertwine, of course, that in the sun, right, and in the light and the energy, that everything comes from the sun in one way or another, right? I mean, just that in and of itself is such a wonderful meditation for planetary pilgrims, right? To recognize that as we see the light, that is God's presence, that God is there. God is the creator. God comes to us through that and in that. And when we bask in the sunlight, even on cloudy days like today, the sun is still shining above those clouds outside my window, right? But when we bask in that, we realize and recognize that it is God who is present. All right, y'all. I am going to leave it with that prayer right there. I think it says a lot. And hope to write for tomorrow. I am definitely planning some new things for Advent, kind of doing this a little bit differently. I'm looking forward to Thanksgiving Eve, which is next Wednesday, because that, y'all, is my 1-year anniversary of doing this Substack, Uncommon Communion. So I'll be celebrating that. Hope you will celebrate it with me as well. And blessing and good. Be bold. Be well.